power with another quick hitter. This time it's the winger at the 45. He's going to juke at
Nice
the 40
juke.
to the 35, 30,
Nice.
25, 20, cuts back at the 15.
He's
going
still on.
10, 5, touchdown.
He's in.
Going.
Nice start.
Jax Wenger,
Wow.
45 yards. Golden Knights strike.
And with that, we welcome you inside a special playoff edition of the Friday Night Pigskin presented by Knox Community Hospital. Every single team in the state that qualified for Week 11 was competing tonight. Half of them still have their dreams alive for competing for a state championship down the road. The other half sent packing. I'm Brian Skronsky. I am your host, and we got a jam-packed show per usual coming up. Lots of highlights. We're going to break down the brackets, and we're going to show you who's going to be competing coming up in Week 12. But we're going to begin tonight with our highlight portion over at NIST Stadium, where Ontario enjoying their best season in 20 years, but taking on a team from the Cleveland area, very battle-tested. On paper, this looked like it could be a very tough test for the Warriors. Garrett and Storm were over there tonight, taking in the action. And fellas, I felt like this one might be a tough one for the Warriors, and definitely that they got their best shot from the Horns.
Yeah, Lutheran West, I mean, the 11th seed coming in to face Ontario, the number 6 seed at 9-1. It still kind of surprised me. Travis kind of explained that to me, but I still don't get it. Got kind of a little relic here from our first ever OH Report live stream at Ontario. It was a fun one, Garrett, but it was a lot closer, I think, than the score kind of told the story.
Yeah, Strom, it was only a 9-point loss, but it kind of felt like it was a multiple double-digit lead for the Ontario. They never really felt threatened, in my opinion. It was a 31-22 game, but Lutheran West, they couldn't get over the hump. They had too many turnovers and too many miscues, really, where Ontario took advantage and got points off of those. All
right, enough yapping from us. Let's just get right into these highlights. Starting us off would be Bogpen Miller with a 7-yard touchdown run. Ontario fans, you're used to that, 7-0.
After a big interception, Storm, from Theodore, he's going to hit his wide receiver, and his other name, Storm, is Theodore. This one's going to go all the way into the end zone for a touchdown. It's 7-7, Storm, and we thought maybe Lutheran West would have a chance here tying this thing up.
Not if this next guy has anything to say about it. Miller, once again, a short yardage run, 14-7.
They would get a field goal, Storm, and here it's going to be Bogpen Miller using the cannon all the way to Quentin Frankhouse across midfield. He's going to take it into the end zone. It's 24-7 Storm here early in the third.
Bradley now on the ground for the Longhorns to get them back on the board. 3-yard rush. Longhorns trying to make this one a game, 24-14.
This is an awesome play call here from Aaron Eckert and the staff. It was fourth down, going into the fourth quarter. They could have ran the ball, could have punted. They went for it and got it for a touchdown.
How about this one? A little trickery. The reverse on the kickoff as Theodore would find a seam. The rest is history. Yick him up straight to the casa. Nobody would catch him. The 20, the 10, and that would be the final score of the night. Ontario 31, Lutheran West 22. Garrett, Ontario, get to celebrate this win tonight, but I mean, they got a tough matchup that I feel like they already have to start looking forward to.
Yeah, Storm, they're going to take on the winner of Tiffin, Columbia, and Ashland. That obviously is final. Tiffin, Columbia dominating that one, 49-21, I believe was the final. So Ontario, a tough task, but we talked to Quentin Frankhouse after the game, and he mentioned that, all week they talked about how Lutheran West had better athletes, and they were going to come in here and maybe knock off the Warriors, but they kind of slammed the door on that. They showed off their athletic ability themselves with Bogpen Miller, Chase Studer, and, of course, Quentin Frankhouse himself. So the Warriors, they're going to chip on their shoulders from going to Tiffin, Columbia.
Yeah, and I heard all this talk about Bogpen Miller and this Ontario offense. I've been hearing it all season. I finally got to see it with my own eyes, and, man, what a treat that is over there at NIST Stadium. I know we kind of give away a little bit of the bracket talk, but we're going to throw it back over to Brian. He's going to break down the bracket with, I think, Joe Lenardi's special guest.
Yeah, no question about it, and thank you, fellas. And real quick, just want to give a quick round of applause to Jeff Fisher, the athletic director over at Ontario, taking care of us tonight, welcoming us in with open arms to do their playoff game. And that's right, we do have Travis Lenardi Berardi here to kind of break down the bracket with us, and he's got kind of a special guest that's giving me a little bit of the heebie-jeebies here. But, Trav, everything okay?
Yeah, everything's perfect. It's KMAC Plus, by the way. I don't know. Anyway, it's going to be the matchup that we wanted before Week 11 started. It's going to be Tiffin, Columbia, and Ontario. These two teams, high-powered offenses. That might be a shootout up at Frost Cannell Stadium. So that's your 3-6 matchup. The winner of that gets the winner of number 2 seeded Norton. They defeated Richfield Revere 40-7. Medina Buckeye beat Sandusky 31-29. So the winner of Columbia and Ontario gets the winner of Norton and Buckeye. Then at the top of the bracket, folks, Toledo Central Catholic, the favorites, most people say, in Division 4, rolling Bowling Green 42-7. They will get Defiance defeating Bay, the 9/8, 14-7. Rocky River, the 5 seed, defeated Clyde only 14-7 as well. They will get Mansfield Senior. The TY Tigers roll Lexington for a second straight time. I'm not going to get into the Mansfield Senior stuff. We already let that go earlier.
Lamar Davis had a touchdown goal tonight.
Yes.
Did become the Tigers' all-time
Absolutely.
scoring leader in the receiving department. And not a lot of offense in that one.
Nope.
450 combined yards, a lot of D.
A lot of defense, but still, Mansfield Senior 30-13 winners. They're going to take on Rocky River. Rematch from a couple years ago? Or was it supposed to be a matchup that the Mansfield Senior ended up losing before that? I don't know. It seems like they've met each other in the last couple of years in the postseason. But that's going to be an interesting matchup at Arlen Field. Rocky River, the 5, facing the 4 with a chance to take on Toledo Central Catholic at a neutral site in the semifinals of the region.
I don't think there's any question. Everybody's kind of eyeballing Toledo Central Catholic up at the top, the defending state champions. They are the King Kong here. But you got to win the games. You got to advance. There's going to be some interesting second-round matchups for sure.
Ontario Columbian.
Love that one.
That's going to be a fun one.
We're going to have to get out to Tiffin to check that out. All right. Whoa. Yeah, enough of that. Let's throw it back over to Cutie Corner now as we're going to get into region number 14 in Division 4. Fellas, what happened over at Gallion tonight?
Yeah, Heights Park, we had a good one. Gallion versus Highland. Let's not waste any time. Let's just get right into these highlights as the scoring would be started off from Gallion's Jimmy Hardy, 7-0 Tigers.
That's from Gallion taking on Firelands here at Heights Park. It's going to be a 17-yard run here coming up. This one's going to be from Gabe Ivy, Storm, our guy. Poison Ivy himself, he's going to take it in. And Gallion would go up 13-0. Here's the run. Just finding his blockers, finding the hole, and then powering his way through. Gallion 13-0.
Yeah, his NBA power counterpart, Jaden Ivy, not playing as good. But Gabe Ivy still finding the end zone. Next up, an 18-yard pass from Prosser to Landon Campbell. The 2-point conversion is good off of the missed PAT on the last score, and that would make it 21-0. The Tigers out dominating here in the first half.
Storm, this kind of fits in with the Michael Myers we got here on set from KMAC Plus. A full moon here at half. Kind of getting a little spooky. Howling at the moon.
Gonna scare me on my drive home.
It didn't scare away Storm Gallion. Is they're going to get a block punt here? Our cameras almost didn't catch it here, but they are going to. And Gallion's going to take it in for 6. They get in the end zone. It's 29-0 Storm. Gallion's running away with it here at Heights Park.
And then Jimmy Hardy, once again, for the Tigers. He would yick him up to the casa one more time. This time 6 yards out, 35-0. Still the goose egg for Firelands.
And then Storm, Firelands would get a last-ditch effort to try to get back into this ball game. It's going to be a pitch, and they're going to take this thing all the way to the end zone. Tremendous sweep. No Gallion Tiger is going to catch him. He's going to take it all the way into the end zone. Gallion would finish the game 36-6 with a victory, and they'll take on Storm West Homes in the second round of playoffs.
Yeah, and I know you spent a lot of time with Gallion. I believe it was last year, if I'm not mistaken. This is scares me.
This guy off, man.
This seems like this, though, is a totally different Gallion Tiger squad than what we've seen. Two high-powered offense. Their defense is phenomenal. I mean, West Holmes, they're a good team, but they got their work cut out for them.
Well, Storm Gallion, I love the way they run the football. They finished 20. In the MOAC, it was tough because obviously Shelby and Ontario. And, you know, those teams kind of battled it out for first place. But Gallion, I think they're a very tough squad. They're very, battle-tested squad because they played those tough MOAC teams. And I think River Valley's a high-flying offense that they've played as well. So Gallion, I think they got a shot going against that West Holmes team. That's a very tough team. But I like the way Gallion runs the football. I think you can hang your hat on in the playoffs, running the football Storm and playing great defense. I think Gallion does a great job of that.
Yeah, definitely. No matter how great Gallion's defense is, it's going to be tough to stop West Holmes' offense. I think we're in for a shootout with Gallion, but I think that's going to do it over here on our last Pigskin.
This is it, boys.
Our last Pigskin. We're sending it off well with our first live stream from Ontario, and then Gallion with Firelands. But thank you. That's the Cutie Corner. I'm going to throw it back over to Brian.
I sent Storm just didn't want to walk away just quite
About,
yet.
about to start crying, man. I'm sad.
A little bit emotional out here. So Gallion, they look great at home, and thank you to their new athletic director, Matt Tyrell, taking great care of us tonight again. And let's go ahead. Let's check out the bracket in Division 4, Region 14. They already talked about the matchup with the Tigers. They're going to be advancing. They got to go out into Amish country, and they're going to take on West Holmes. Trav, what are some other matchups that we're looking at here in Week 12 coming up next Friday?
Well, real quick first for West Holmes, that's a basketball score. 70-50 over Bryan was their score in that game tonight to move on. Gallion, West Holmes might get another shootout. Top part of that top half of the bracket, Sandusky Perkins, another one of those teams that can put up numbers. 44-6 over Vermilion. They will take on St. Mary's Memorial, a 42-14 victory over Wauseon. So Perkins versus Memorial, West Holmes, Gallion, that's the top half of the bracket. Head down to the bottom half, Cleveland Glenville, the defending D4 state champs, handled Lima Bath 44-0. Napoleon, the 10 seed, knocked off Bellevue 41-24. So Napoleon will head to Glenville next week. Then we have the Shelby Whippets, 40-0 over Cleveland Central Catholic. And who do they get? A rematch of the regional championship from a couple years ago. Van Wert, 48-30 over River Valley. It was a shootout. River Valley handed them their best, but not enough. So Shelby hosts Van Wert once again, this time in Week 2, not Week 4, the playoffs. They'll get the winner of Cleveland Glenville and Napoleon in the semifinals.
How much fun is that Whippet matchup going to be coming up next week? And then again, I feel like there's just such a huge juggernaut, the big gorilla in this one, Glenville, of course, and heard a lot of people talk about all the talent that they have coming back. So certainly if we were to get a matchup with one of those teams in the semifinal, that's going to be a lot of fun to watch with one of our local teams, but a long way to go. Gallion and West Holmes too.
Yeah, some great matchups here. West Holmes Gallion, and then you have Shelby Van Wert. Is he getting close to get over here? Michael Myers. You should be getting in the back of G and Storm's car right now to scare the crap out of them. But anyway, great matchups. Great matchups in this region in the second round. Some of these matchups could be regional final matchups in other years. So we should be in for a treat in D4 Region 14. Do you agree, Michael Myers? Okay. All right, back to you, Brian.
Yeah, it's all tricks, no treats over there for now. We're going to take a quick commercial timeout. When we come back, we're going to dive into the Lucas-Hillsdale game, round 2 of this rivalry this season, and then we've got a pair of games from Division 6, Region 22 on the way.
At Knox Community Hospital, your primary care physician is more than someone who delivers your test results, more than someone who writes prescriptions, more than someone who listens to your heart. We are your healthcare partner who takes the time to know you, listen to your concerns, and provide you with expert personalized care to make and keep you well. Because to us, you're more than just numbers on a chart. You're a neighbor and a friend. Knox Community Hospital, in the community, for the community.
the last 3 seasons between Lucas and Hillsdale, and all 3 went down as instant classics. The Cubs played Hillsdale earlier this year, lost 21-17 on the road. They were looking for a little piece of revenge tonight as the 9 seed going on the road against the 8. And the opening drive for the Cubs after stopping Hillsdale on a 4th down would end with Logan Toms juking out a couple of guys, going 36 yards on the touchdown dash. And then later, fullback Daniel Hawkinsmith, normally a bulldozer in the A-gaps, showing off some speed. Look at how he outruns everybody, 88 yards to make it 14-0 on the first play of the second quarter. Ensuing Falcons possession, it's the boogeyman. Hawkinsmith again with the strip, and the Cubs would recover. Back in business as they march down into the red zone, and then Zach Dill is going to make it 21-zip with 4 minutes to go in the first half. It looks like the route is on, everything going in Lucas's favor, but Hillsdale drives the length of the field. 4th down, Jack Fickus throws a dime in the end zone to Hayden McFadden, his 10th catch in the end zone this season. But after a 65-yard touchdown run was called back, Toms would get loose for a 44-yarder to seal the deal late in the third as Lucas exercises the demons in Dromesville with a 28-14 victory. Cubs looked great. They racked up 391 rushing yards in this game, and they really did hold Hillsdale in check. They just had that one turnover, but Hawkinsmith, he was unblockable. I haven't seen this type of performance on both sides of the football really yet this season, where there was one guy, he was almost like a TJ Watt, a Myles Garrett out there, where they were trying to double team him. There were multiple plays where he was pushing offensive linemen back into the backfield, knocking them into the fullback, still making the tackle. One of the best performances I've seen all year. He's our MVP. He was unbelievable. Okay, another team that really kind of prides themselves on defense, the Carey Blue Devils, okay? They were taking on Crestview tonight. These two teams, they've met 3 out of the last 4 years in the postseason. Lost the last 2, did Crestview, but on the road, upset-minded. We'll see if the Cougars could get it done. Instead, it's going to be Carter Smiley. 20-yard rushing touchdown to get things started here early in the second quarter. This would make it 7-0 in favor of Carey. Fast forward you now, and it's a 64-yard touchdown run by Austin Niedercore later in the second. $1:41 to go. This dude can do it all. They split him out wide. They put him in the backfield. He makes it 14-0 here with that lengthy touchdown score. Later on, Nathan Brodnan banging his way in from 2 yards out. 25 seconds to go before the half. It's 21-zip in favor of the Devils. Fast forward you now, third quarter, Niedercore again doing some things. Back in the backfield, plunges in 4 yards. The 2-point conversion as well, and it's 29-0 in favor of the Devils as they had it rocking and rolling on this night. But the Cougars, they would get on the board late. Liam Kuhn, 4-yard touchdown pass to Keith Abshire. They would fail the 2-point conversion, so it's 29-6 at that point. That would end up being the final score as Carey baby, they win in the postseason again. I think it's like the 5th straight year or something that they've got at least one playoff victory. And this is a team that they got off to that 0-2 start, but against some quality competition. We already showed you what the Gallion Tigers were able to do tonight. That's an 8-win team moving on to week 12. Hopewell Loudon still undefeated. They're 11-0. So Carey, outside of those 2 weeks, arguably one of the most dominant teams in all of Division 6. They looked unbelievable again against kind of a budding rival now in the playoffs, with Crestview and them locking horns yet again. But the Devils continue to check the boxes in that win column. We'll keep it in Division 6, Region 22, but we're going to head over to North Robinson now, where Colonel Crawford getting a second date against Seneca East, one of their Northern 10 rivals. We had Madeline Zazudo over there taking in all of the action, and earlier in the season, just a 2-possession game, Madeline, so we are expecting this one, even though it's kind of lopsided in terms of it being a 3 versus a 14, to be a pretty good game.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be a pretty good game too, but it looks like, as you will see, one team definitely came out stronger and dominated way earlier in the game than the other team. So let's show you. We're kicking things off with the Colonel Crawford Eagles. It's playoffs, win or go home, and this is Micah Thomas starting off the scoring, using his legs to get into the end zone. It's 7-0. Next up, Connor McMichael for a short run to put Colonel Crawford up 2 scored, 14-0. And kickers are people too to Travis for the brand, Lucas Foy from 44 yards out, showing off the leg, 17-0 Colonel Crawford at the half. And deja vu, we got Micah Thomas again for another short run, putting Colonel Crawford further in the driver's seat, 24-0. And what is all the foos about? As Blake Foos would carry this one and with a 2-point conversion, giving Seneca East their first score of the game. It's now 8-24. And what is all the foos about again, this time using his arm, finding Schuyler Beamer for the final score of the night, 16-24 Colonel Crawford. And Colonel Crawford will have another home game next week against Ottawa Hills.
So it looked like obviously a great start there for the Eagles and Jake Bruner. Shout out the AD taking care of us, plus coaching the football game to a victory. So we love him over there. Did it seem like they kind of took their foot off of the gas pedal, Madeline, or did Seneca East start playing some better football down the stretch?
I think Seneca East just played better football and made less mistakes. I honestly didn't think Seneca East ever let off the gas pedal. They were going hard from the beginning, but they just could not connect passes or anything. So.
And then the running attack by Colonel Crawford. They don't have to put it up in the air very much.
No.
When they do, it's pretty effective because of that running attack. Of course, they got Trevor Vogt kind of running the show. He can get out and run too, McMichael. And then we saw Micah Thomas as well. So this rushing attack, does it just feel like no matter who they're going against, they're going to be able to chew up some yardage, get some first downs, and get it done?
I think so. I know their passing yards were very, very slim, and we went over the post-game stats. But honestly, it worked for them tonight, so who knows? It might work for them again next week, too.
And then defensively, too, for the Eagles, what would you say kind of impressed you about that unit, not allowing points until the fourth quarter?
A lot of interceptions that they had for Colonel Crawford. And I think Colonel Crawford last year made it to the regional quarterfinals, so that's probably got them very riled up and wanting to continue that, get another district final, and go further in regional. So that might have also been another factor as well.
All right. Appreciate you, Madeline.
Of course.
And with that, we'll rope back in Travis and then KMAC plus Michael Myers combo today. Well, actually, we do get to see him actually a little bit now. And let's take a look at the brackets there in Division 6, Region 22. And Trav, break it down for us. Let us know how it all shook out tonight.
Once again, there he is. Columbus Grove, the #1 overall seed, took out Lakota 42-17, and they will take on Black River, who held off Western Reserve 24-6. So that is a 9-1 matchup. The winner will get the winner of Carey and Columbia. That's the team that I keep forgetting if it was either Crestview or if it was Colonel Crawford in that regional semifinal. Columbia knocked one of the, I think it was Crestview, with a last-second touchdown. So, again, we have another area team taking on Columbia. That's a 4-5 matchup, Carey versus Columbia. So you have Columbus Grove, Black River, Carey versus Columbia in the top half of the bracket. Down to the bottom half of the bracket, Winford upsets Tenora on the road in overtime, 31-28. They get Bluffton, the 2 seed, winning 63-6 over Paulding. Winford's going to take the hour drive right down 30 to Bluffton next week. Colonel Crawford, also shout out Colonel Crawford High School watching on Facebook. Never had a whole high school in itself watching us on the stream before, so crazy stuff going on. But the Eagles with the win over Seneca East. They will take on Ottawa Hills, like Madeline said. Ottawa Hills 42-7 victors over Margaretta. That was a 6-11. So Crawford versus Margaretta, playing the winner of Winford and Bluffton in the quarter. Well, they be playing the winner of those in the semifinals. So you have Colonel Crawford, Ottawa Hills, Winford, Bluffton in the bottom half of the bracket. One upset, pretty much, well, unless you call Black River 2, but everything else is pretty much chalk. And as you'd expected, you're thinking Columbus Grove and Carey or Columbia in that semifinal. But a lot of good football here, too. Can a Northern 10 team get some revenge over Columbia this year? We'll find out coming up in a week. But I think some more interesting matchups. I want to see how Winford will fare against that 2 seed, because that 2 seed in Bluffton, they held the 1 spot for a while until actually the last week when an upset from Columbus Grove over Columbia put them into the 1 spot. So Bluffton, they're a 2 seed, but they really should be a 1 seed in any other bracket. So this is going to be a tough one for Winford, but Crawford as well. If they can get past Ottawa Hills, that's going to be a tough task for some of our teams.
Big ups to the Northern 10 getting 3 teams into Week 12, all in the same division here. So kudos to them, and looking forward to seeing how Winford can compete against the number 2 seed, if it's going to be a whole lot of scariness or if they're able to go toe-to-toe. And then Colonel Crawford, too. I mean, this team, anytime you can get in the playoffs and you can rely on a staunch defense and a great running attack, Travis, I think you got a pretty good shot at making a decent run. That's what Jake Bruner and the boys have been doing here lately.
Yeah, and it's the same blueprint that Carey did a couple years ago. You get hot at the end of the year, you have a great defense, a great running attack, you can run time off the clock, you can get big plays, and, hey, you never know. And I didn't know Michael Myers, he's getting old now. He got the glasses on and everything. But anyway, this is just, if I don't make it through the night, I love you.
Yeah, well, still in for a killer finish here tonight as we still need to unveil our Week 10 winner of the top play and the phenom from the regular season finale. We've got that coming up after the break, including 2 KMAC games. We got to see Danville in action and doing some Blue Devil-like stuff against some other Blue Devils, actually. And then we'll take a trip over to the castle to close out the show. See you in a bit.
At Knox Community Hospital, your primary care physician is more than someone who delivers your test results, more than someone who writes prescriptions, more than someone who listens to your heart. We are your healthcare partner who takes the time to know you, listen to your concerns, and provide you with expert personalized care to make and keep you well. Because to us, you're more than just numbers on a chart. You're a neighbor and a friend. Knox Community Hospital, in the community, for the community. We had some unbelievable nominees for you guys in Week 10 of the high school football season to close out the regular campaign, and we put it all on your shoulders to decide who had the best performance of the week. So here it is, after we tallied up all the votes, your Friday night phenom from week number 10. And I think we got this one right. Are you serious? With that quarter pounder and cheese of stats. Actually, it's a triple. It's a Big Mac on top of that. Ben Berger delivering
5 touchdowns, 260 yards, and did it all on just 24 carries. And oh, by the way, the dude on defense had an interception as well. Very worthy of being our phenom. And also, what was the best play of the week from week number 10? Well, you guys told us that it was this play coming up right here. The Danville Blue Devils in the Devil Dog game, a.k.a. the Mud Bowl, and Jax Lester gets flat out lit up by Caleb Lucas. No regard for human life as he comes flying in and just absolutely destroys the rival quarterback, and the emotion on his face, what you can see of it, very worthy of being our top play from week number 10. And speaking of the Danville Blue Devils, obviously, they could not play at home tonight. That field was a complete and total mess, so they had to move the game to Mount Vernon, and it just so happens that we know some people down there. So let's bring in Jonathan Langdon down at Mount Vernon Nazarene University. And Jonathan, awesome to see this team, the number 2 squad in their region, Danville, going toe-to-toe, Blue Devil versus Blue Devil with the matchup against McDonald. What'd you see out there tonight, pal?
Yeah, so I'll tell you what, when I got the email that this game was moved to Mount Vernon High School, I was ecstatic, and this game was special for Danville. Let's go ahead and roll those highlights. 10-0, perfect season for Danville, and here they are taking on another Blue Devil team. It's the Youngstown area, McDonald, and actually the key player to watch for them was Drew Zajac. He did not play at all. So take him out at quarterback, put in Kyle Puckett. He threw a pick there on the first play. You see a touchdown there from Nate Stevens. Nate Stevens had the pick and the touchdown there. Here's another pick for Kyle Puckett. Just an unfortunate game for him. And Danville immediately bounced back here and get a nice touchdown as well. This makes it 22-0. Just look at the KMAC Player of the Year. Walker Weckesser had a game as well. You saw McDonald here. They will score a touchdown with Zach Schobel, but those were the only points of the night for them. It was all Danville in this one. Second half, running clock for basically the entirety of it. And then you see there Cole DeLauder closing it out, 11-0. Danville moving on to the next round. And they are looking really good, Brian. Like, just talk about this team. They're used to a KMAC conference that's more run-heavy. And the good news for them is McDonald brought a lot of passing games. So they got that experience. They got some practice in the playoffs defending some passing teams. And they got 3 interceptions off of it. So a good performance from the Blue Devils, the Danville Blue Devils.
That's right. Yeah, you got to actually say exactly which side of the equation you're talking about here. But Danville, I mean, they're cruising into the next week. This is a team, they look pretty scary on turf. They might want to play at Mount Vernon again next week, because even though this is a rough and tumble team, at least that's kind of what we think of them, a hard-nosed running team. Jonathan, they can really do it in both the passing game, the running game, and then defensively, you see holding their opponent to 7 points. So this is a very complete squad from top to bottom.
Yeah, you're right. Much better than last year. And last year they made such a big run, they could even go bigger this time around. You talk about the turf field. They might be playing there again next week because some weather may be coming in the area. And who knows, they might be back at Yellow Jacket Stadium. Actually, the interesting fact about that was the PA announcers for Danville were adamant to the fans. We want to make sure we keep this thing clean, keep this stadium clean, so Mount Vernon will invite us back next week if we need to be there.
Yeah, I like that from Devani Adam. Shout out, another ID taking good care of us, even away from home tonight, doing awesome things. But I like what you said about this team, maybe even being more dangerous than a squad that probably should have went to the state Final Four a season ago. A lot of those pieces back. But with that KMAC Player of the Year, tell me a little bit more about Walker Weckesser and just kind of what he was able to bring to the table tonight.
Well, tonight in this game, he was, of course, phenomenal in running the ball, also passing the ball. We saw a lot more passing from Weckesser this time around, and it was really just the opportunity because that secondary for McDonald kind of struggled, and they took advantage of that. Nate Stevens was actually our MVP of this game. He had 2 interceptions, and he also, 1 interception, 2 touchdowns. So the first 2 big plays of the game were both Nate Stevens, and from there, he was the one that really propelled this team. And also Wesley Payne just a good game from the secondary for Danville. Wesley Payne had a pick, and he also had a touchdown. So defense stepped up, and also those defensive players played pretty well offensively thanks to Walker Weckesser getting into the passing game and getting them involved.
Yeah, this is a very dangerous team as they move further and further into the playoffs. And we'll go ahead and keep you in the conversation here. Let's bring up the Division 7 Region 25 bracket. And with that, we'll bring in Travis and then KMAC Plus / Michael Myers tonight. And you look at the very top half here, we're going to get a Dalton-Lucas matchup. I think you could definitely argue that Lucas is maybe the best 9 seed in any region that we have in the entire state.
Dude,
I know Travis ain't going to disagree.
You already know what I think.
Come on, baby. But outside of that, I mean, Danville, I think they're a pretty clear number 2.
Oh, absolutely. What happens with Dalton this week, I think their biggest test until possibly, well, I actually won't say that because Norwalk St. Paul is coming on. It says Lexington is 13 seed. It's actually Norwalk St. Paul. They steamrolled Toronto down in the Ohio Valley tonight. St. Paul won that game, I believe it was 56-20. So the St. Paul Flyers are now up and coming as well in that top half of the bracket. So I know Danville, they're a clear-cut, favorite coming in, but you're seeing some other teams really show out here in the last couple of weeks to come up. Danville, well, at the top of the bracket first, Dalton, Lucas, and then you're going to have St. Paul taking on Malvern. That Lucas-Dalton game, it's going to be an interesting one. Just the way that the Cubs are coming back at the end of the year. They went to Dalton a couple years ago in the playoffs. We did that game, and Dalton kind of just controlled it. So Lucas got, always got that chip on their shoulder. We'll see if they can do a little bit better. But, yeah, that's going to be quite the matchup. Then we do look at the bottom half of the bracket. Danville will be hosting New Middletown Springfield. That's a team we saw a couple years ago in a state semifinal against Carey. But they got a fight from Monroeville tonight. New Middletown Springfield defeated Monroeville only 35-21, 14-point game. So that's something to look forward to. That's something that Danville can look back on that game film if Monroeville gives it to them that they could work on. And then at the bottom half of the bracket, Berlin Center Western Reserve will take on Lowellville. So those are two teams that we really don't know much about, but Western Reserve beat Lisbon David Anderson 54-20. Lowellville beat Steubenville Catholic Central 34-0. So that's something that we'll look at. I think the winner of Danville, New Middletown, Springfield will have a spot in the regional championship. The two other teams, I don't know too much about them, but I don't think they can stand up against those two squads. But the top half of the bracket's getting really intriguing here. Sure. With St. Paul, a huge upset win, Lucas looking better, and then Dalton, the number 1 seed.
Yeah, no question about it. Jonathan, you want to go on a limb here and say that you think Danville's the favorite, or anybody else kind of jump off the page that you feel like probably be marching into that state Final Four?
Well, I want to give a shout out to Martin RPI on Twitter. I'm a big fan of him, and he puts up down a lot of stuff. And he actually predicts Dalton's going to make it all the way to the state championship game, which is interesting, I think, because I personally see Danville as the better team. And if that is a matchup that happens here at the end of this bracket and Danville is able to win that game, that sets them up nicely to get into maybe even a state championship game, which I think would be very interesting. And then they'd take on Marion Local, who knows about them. They've been really strong all year. But, yeah, Lucas pulling away. They looked really strong against Hillsdale. They will give Dalton a test. I just don't think Danville has any tests on the bottom half of the bracket. So I don't know what that's going to mean for them, if they'll cruise to the championship game and maybe run into a tough team in Dalton and fold, but we'll have to see what happens with that.
Yeah, well, I love the revenge factor game for Lucas. They talked about that to us, just about the fact that Hillsdale beat them earlier. That's been a big motivating factor for them to go out on the road and win 28-14 tonight. Cubs have won 8-9, so that game against the Bulldogs, everyone's pick, I think, like you said, probably get to a state championship game. Boy, that's got a great type of atmosphere and game written all over it, Trev.
Yeah, absolutely. And remember last year, that Warren JFK Danville game, the winner of that pretty much locked up a spot in the state championship game because that other region just did not even meet the expectations of the region that this is in. And this is the region that's on the opposite side of Marion Local that usually gets that representative in there. And we saw with Lucas a few years ago, not only did they make it to the state title game, they gave Marion Local a battle in that one. If that running into the kicker call on the punt to open up the game changes. You never know what Lucas could do with that, but I think Danville, at least if they can get there, they can get past a Dalton, they can pass to St. Paul, a New Middletown, Springfield, just make them battle-tested to get into that Final Four, and you never know what can happen. This is why you play the game. You never know what could happen, especially the way that they have been practicing, getting ready since that JFK loss last November.
Playoffs, baby. It's a fun time. Always enjoy this time of year, no question about it. And enjoyed having you with us throughout the course of this season, Jonathan. And I know that it's been a busy time for you guys down in Mount Vernon. You've been seeing playoffs from all sorts of different sports, bro. So we'll turn you loose. We'll let you get to bed. We're burning that midnight oil again. But just big kudos to you and your team down there in Mount Vernon for doing an exceptional job for us here on the OH Report during fall.
Thank you so much. One more thing. I just want to shout out ourselves. Basketball, MVNU men's and women's basketball season coming up next week. We've got 2 strong squads, so you can always go to MVNU and check us out.
Awesome, brother. Yeah, if they can't catch it in person, you guys do some nice live streams. Where do they watch those at?
WNZR.TV.
All right, there it is. Jonathan Langdon, the voice of MVNU, and then also right here on the OH Report. Awesome kid, man. Great crew that they got down there. All right, we got time for one more highlight, and with that, we're going to throw it back to Travis, who was hanging out at the castle tonight. And this one, a tell of two halves, brother, I think on paper.
You're telling me, man.
I think a lot of people were like, hey, matter of fact, someone was talking to me before my game tonight. Northmor, that awesome offense, they should put up 50 tonight. Not so fast, my friends.
Well, they nearly did, but in the first half, it didn't look anything. But I watched so many Scooby-Doo episodes. I've been always wanting to do that throughout my life. You ever try to pull that off?
Mr. Kidwell.
If it wasn't for you meddling kids, I would have gotten away with it. But KMAC Plus. KMAC Plus is here. And before we get into this, a little bit of a teaser. KMAC went 3-1 tonight as well. Shout out East Knox going back to the Ohio River and knocking off a couple of my family members who are coaches of the Martins Ferry Purple Riders. They trailed 14-10 at the half, but they ran away with a victory. So shout out East Knox moving on to the second round. But with Northmor, this was a completely different game between the first and second half. We thought Cole Grove, they had a big line, a great running attack. We knew that coming in. They play in a really tough conference. They're at the bottom point of Ohio. They're right by Huntington. So they had a 3-hour drive, but they came out chopping against Northmor. And it looked like after a half of play that they were probably going to pull off the upset, but not so fast, my friend. Let's get you to the highlights and show you everything. And we start with the call of the night. A.J. Bauer to Jack Swenger, and he turns on the afterburners, but there's 5 defenders in front of him. That don't matter. He is ghost on spooky season. 7-0 Northmor to start off, but Cole Grove, like I said, stellar rushing attack in the first half. Rylan Smith on the keeper. He also had a 2-point run. It's 8-7 Cole Grove. Time running out in the half now. Game tied at 14. Caden Turner plows in from 3 yards out. Hornets lead 22-14. They had 225 rushing yards in the first half, like I said, and they'll get the ball out of the half, but adjustments by Northmor, and watch this play.
Okay.
They would not let them have it. Caleb Chenier onside kick into the hands, a big play. Bo Landon. That sets up Paul Kramer from 2 yards out. 2-point conversion, good. We are tied. Then after Northmor stopped the Hornets on 4th down, Kramer punches it again from 4 out. It's 29-22. Next Cole Grove possession, they're forced to punt, but Garrett Harvey, untouched, blocks it. Hunter Falk recovers. Everything going the Golden Knights' way in the second half. It'll set up Paul Kramer once again. It's his 3rd touchdown score of the night. Northmor outscores Cole Grove Dawson Bryant 30-0 in the second half. 44-22. They move on to play at home next week against a Tenora squad, or a Trimble, Gloucester Trimble squad that upset Elgin. So a 12 seed will take them next week. But it was, like I said, a tale of two halves. Northmor actually switched up defensive strategies, doing something they never did, Brian, this season. They went from the 4-4-3 to a 5-3-3. That extra lineman, they brought the linebackers up a little bit more, closed the running lanes down, because there's about 7 or 8 runs in the first half by Cole Grove that went 8 10, 12, 14 yards. They had an average of about 2 or 3 yards. They only had 40 yards rushing in the second half. It was a complete change. I have never seen a game change so much ever. Northmor completely just threw things out. I talked to Coach Armros after the game. He said, we actually spent the first few minutes at the half licking our wounds, not knowing what to do. Then the coaches just got to talking. And they said, hey, let's just try this. We're down. Maybe it'll help. It completely changed the complexion of the game. The offense was rolling. They did get stopped on 4th down once in the first half. That helped Colgrove get that lead. And then with them getting the ball, and the shout out to the special teams coordinator saying, hey, let's onside kick it. Let's get that ball back. Caleb Chenier, like I said, perfect onside kick. Bo Landon on the sidelines gets it. Coach told me after the game, he said, we practiced this a lot during the week, and maybe 50% of the time it worked. It worked to perfection tonight. Everything went Northmore's way, and this is the first time in the playoffs that something like this has happened for Northmor, to where the pieces fell in their favor for once.
And now that we know that Michael Myers is actually just Mason Kidwell in disguise, and we got KMAC Plus in the building, things kind of look like they're shaping out kind of nice, I think, for Northmor here with the upset with Trimble moving on here. So give me some thoughts and some projections for Northmor. Do you feel like this team potentially can get to a semifinal or maybe even a regional championship game?
Yeah, I think they definitely could. If they keep playing like how they have been, especially how they played in the second half tonight, I think they have a pretty good shot at that.
And Brian, Gloucester Trimble, another one of those teams from Southern Ohio that just likes to run the ball, but now they don't have much of Northmor on tape of them playing that 5-3 defense. So if Northmor may come back out in that 4-4 to start, but if they see that Trimble's running the ball a little bit more, they can now switch to this 5-3 and really throw a wrench in things, because it keeps from guys like Carson Goldbach. Jeez, almost slipped my mind. But Goldbach and company, they won't get double teamed now because you have 5 linemen on there. You try and double team, there's going to be a hole for somebody. So now that really opens things up. Northmor has multiple options now on the defensive side at the line.
Let's take a look now at Division 6, Region 23, and see what the Knights are going to have to compete against as they get deeper into tournament play. You talked about Trimble. That's one of those teams, I think they've got like the 5th most playoff appearances in the history of the state, so great head coach, awesome program. Definitely not going to be an easy out for those Golden Knights. Elsewhere, Travis, Fort Fry, I believe, is advancing. They're moving on as a number 3 seed. They're going to be playing at home. Who will they be taking on?
So Fort Fry, winners down at the bottom, they will be taking on a Newcomerstown squad that upset Grandview Heights 17-14. So it's the 3 versus the 11. Nelsonville York knocks off Belair in a rematch of last year's regional semi. They beat them by 8. They will take on a West Jefferson squad that beat Grove City Christian 45-14. So that's the bottom half of the bracket. And then the top half of the bracket, Sugar Creek Garraway. They are a balanced attack. Some people say they're the favorites in this region by far. They ran away 45-7 over Rock Hill, but here come those East Knox Bulldogs heading to Garraway. A big win down on the Ohio River, 35-17. They scored 25 unanswered points to knock off the Purple Riders, so they're in there. How about this, Brian? A regional semifinal between Northmor and East Knox.
That's what I'm
I like it.
That's what you're hoping for,
I love it.
right?
Hey,
Yeah.
KMAC Plus, I see he lit up real big.
So you have Danville, East Knox, and Northmor into the second round. Another conference in our area with 3 wins on week 1. Fredericktown, they got rolled by 30, but they played a really good squad tonight as well. But yeah, KMAC Plus doing some work here next week, right?
We're hoping.
Where are you going to be?
Probably back at school, sadly.
Oh,
But you'll be
the
watching
worst
live
answer
over
of
here,
all.
I'll definitely be watching. Always watching. Never miss a game.
You won't be watching us on the Pigskin anymore, though, because this is our final episode of this season. And I'm kind of sad, but that means I can get to bed at a decent time.
It's a
on that.
little bittersweet, but we do have to thank everybody on the show. Give yourselves a pat on the back, because it's not easy doing what we do, okay? This isn't like we're sitting around watching the games. We have a production unit getting it together. We're all out in the field, and then we come back. Sometimes we got 30 minutes 40 minutes to slap together highlights, get all the scores together, and it's behind the scene. It looks like a fire sale. It's unbelievable. And then we at least try to put out a pleasing product to the eye. So big thank you to all the members of the team. Garrett and Storm have already taken off for the night, but love everything that you guys have been able to do here on the crew. Very thankful. And then Adam Thompson behind the
shout out Adam.
scenes. Come on.
Behind the scenes over there.
Not pictured, but he's given one of those Rocky Balboas. I did it, Adrian, because we survived 11 weeks of this. It's tough on us, but hey, we're going to be able to get to bed at a decent hour, right? Maybe like 1 a.m. or something tonight?
Yeah, but we don't got to be up in the morning, though, for it. We got streams later, but not in the morning, right?
That's right. That's right, guys.
Go Freddies. Freddy.
Well, we're not done tomorrow. How about those Freddies? We're going to have some volleyball action down at Mount Vernon Nazarene, and they're taking on Pleasant, a chance to move on to the regionals. And then we got a girls soccer match. 2 Richland County teams, Madison and Ontario.
The rematch.
Meeting yet again in the district championship.
Does Larry Atkinson get that district championship that's eluded him the last 5 years?
6th time in the last 7 years these 2 teams will meet to decide it. But for now, for tonight, Justin, go ahead, chuck that at the camera. Let's end it. Oh, bullseye!
You got it.
So long, everybody.